Hey, it's me, your COVID-19 face mask. I know I can feel irritating at times, but if you actually want me to be a bit more comfortable while you're wearing me, you should also be listening to an episode of this podcast. Before I continue my first ever journey through the Harry Potter series, just a few quick announcements. I am very excited to share the final results of our first Potterless donation duel. This past week, we did a head-to-head battle to see what the true name of Dumbledore's device is. Is it the Put-Outer or the Deluminator? We were raising money for the Marsha P. Johnson Institute along the way. We raised a total of $3,531, and in a landslide victory, the Put-Outer team won 2,577 votes to 954, so I don't know what else to tell you all. It is clearly definitive that this device's true name is the Put-Outer. Thank you so much to everyone who donated. And if you haven't looked into the charity we supported this time, the Marsha P. Johnson Institute, I highly recommend it. They're doing great, incredible work, and you can learn more about them on their website, marshap.org. And also, I just wanted to let you know that I've been putting up little bonus clips for all patron tiers over at patreon.com/Potterless, just little audio nuggets that couldn't make it into the episode, whether it's me yelling at loud cars outside of my window while I'm trying to record, or me and my guests being silly before we get into the meat and potatoes of the episode, or just any other clip that couldn't make it into the show. I've been posting a bunch of those recently, and you can access all of them immediately if you go to patreon.com/Potterless. And speaking of the Patreon, we have new patrons to welcome to the team. So shout out to Ella, Julia Christensen, Josephine Knob, Emily Nelson, Miriam Risen, Sammy Williams, Kimberly Campbell, Laura Voss, Rosita Gonzalez, Alana Calindras, Lillian Bradley Gill, Madeline Pratt, The Lovely Loveless, and the return of K.A. Robb. Shout out to Ilaria Vizentin, who upgraded to the producer level status, as well as our new producer level patrons, Liam Simmons and Lori. They joined the ranks of Vicky, Aaron, Clown, Machismo, Samantha, Juan, Rosemary, Maria, Romina, Audra, Eleanor, Nikita, Ali, Amelia, Sarah, Ben, Rachel, Zachary, Orchid, Vivian, Haley, Alex, John, Noel, Liz, Brandon, Claire, Rory, Veronica, Lotta, Noah, Tracy, Colleen, Jennifer, Friday, Summer, Justin, Jacob, Maya, Mark, Polly, Zena, Harlan, Noelia, Addie, Nikki, Kine, Amanda, Alicia, Kafir, Sarah, Marta, Eileen, Keegan, Mr. Folk, Maya, Floor, Siri, Georgia, Skyla, Edel, Professor Threat, Ellie, Elizabeth, Michael, Kelly, Carrie, Connie, Jen, Nedry, Will, Samantha, Aurora, Marcos, Courtney, Marique, Ashton, Brittany, Phelan, The Meadows Family, Jenny, McKenna, Heather, Brad, Thomas, Brianna, Kevin, Lori, Chrissy, Jarl, Ashley, Peta, Sophie, Jen, and Callahan, Leah, Melissa, Bella, Melanie, Elizabeth, Britt, Becca, Reese, Adam, Joseph, Lily's mom, Tyrone Money, Madison, Kyle, Tonks, GK, Sabrina, Sophia, Farzan, Melanie, David, Matt, Okama, Hime, Yimki, Bony, Pony, Jacob, Kelsey, Taco, Bluefish, Rike, Taylor, Rochelle, Megan, Alicia, Riley, Colleen, Laurel, Rossanne, Erica, Miranda, Landon, Kendra, Natanya, Yogan, Darcy, Richard, Sandra, Craig, Andren, K, Steve, Leor, Angela, Julia, Demi, Kelsey, Michael, Danae, Michelle, Callista, Kringle, Lovekesh, Jennifer, Crystal, Henrika, Jeremy, Delkis, Katrina, Jerica, Michelle, Casey, Megan, 1000, Sat, Serenity, Jack, Sophia, Matthew, Dane, Rochelle, Kirsty, Robin, Chick, Mermaid, Aaron, Biatch, Steamed Nuggets, and Can't I Bother, who never completely miss their mouth and get food all over their lap when they're trying to eat trail mix in the car. If you want to be like one of these amazing patrons and get access to exclusive live streams, bonus episodes, director's commentary, and more, you can head on over to patreon.com/Potterless. But without further ado, let's get into episode 131 of Potterless, covering the first part of Act 1 of a Harry Potter sequel, guest starring Tessa Netting. Hello, Internet, and welcome back to another episode of Potterless, the tale of a 28-year-old man who didn't read the Harry Potter series as a kid. He read them as an adult. He watched the movies, and he's going beyond all of that fun stuff into the A Very Potter trilogy, I guess that's what it's called. My name is Mike Schubert. I'm That Grown Man, and I'm here joined today by a Harry Potter YouTuber, podcaster, overall lovely human being. It's Tessa Netting. Tessa, how's it going?
Hi, hello. I'm so excited to be on this podcast. You don't even know, because we were supposed to do something together at LeakyCon.
We were.
And I was so pumped for that, but then I couldn't make it. And so now it's finally happening. And it's happening around a Harry Potter trilogy. So that makes me happy.
Yes. I think it's destiny that it happened. Of course, it's unfortunate that we couldn't make the LeakyCon thing happen, but it was great that when I messaged you about trying to get on the show, I was like, oh, do you want to do anything else? Like, I'm doing a Harry Potter musical right now, but there's other stuff. And then you were like, yeah, I'm engaged to Snape, so I'd love to do one of the things if possible. And I was like, if possible, of course. So what?
I know, man. It's the best.
I don't know if this is me being out of the loop or if this is very public knowledge, but I had no idea that this was a thing, and that's very cool.
Yes. Yes. So I have known Joe Moses for a long, long time. We've been together for like 8 years now, and we got engaged last year.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. We met through Pat Brady, which is StarKid's manager and my current agent. So she introduced us, told us not to date each other, which meant we pretty much had to.
Yeah,
so
that's how it works.
we just hit it off right away, and I just love him. So in love with him. I have a really like funny story about StarKid as well. So
Oh, please, let's start it right off the top.
yeah, so it was 2010. I was 19, and I was actually on Broadway at the time.
Whoa.
Yeah, I was in Billy Elliot the Musical. In the original cast. And my two favorite things in the entire world was musical theater and Harry Potter. So people just kept telling me over and over to watch this musical. But I was just so busy and it was so long. And then when a Harry Potter sequel came out, everyone in the Potter fandom was just like talking about it. So I finally watched them back to back, and I absolutely just fell in love with it because it was the first time that I had seen anything like poking fun at Harry Potter in like a lovable way, like coming not from a place of hate, but coming from like a place of love. And StarKid was actually what inspired me to make my own Harry Potter content on the internet.
That's so good.
Yeah. So they just started it all for me. And now that's like a big part of my job. So it's really, really cool that they just started that all. And now that I'm engaged to Joe, I just know them all so well. They are so talented, kind, just loving people. And I just love them. They're the best.
That is fantastic. I am very excited because hopefully I will be able to have some of the StarKids on the show to talk about the trilogy, because I emailed your friend Pat Brady.
Oh!
The best was I sent her an email because I found out that information online, just like looking up how do I get in touch with StarKid.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sent her an email like, hi, I host a podcast. I'm getting to a Harry Potter musical. People really want me to cover it. I think it would be really fun. And then I was not expecting it to work. And then like 8 minutes after I sent the email, she was like, yep, just forwarded it to the whole team. I was like, oh, okay. So
she's the best.
She seems like a wonderful human. I've talked with Nick a
is.
little bit about getting some StarKids on, so that will hopefully be coming in the future. But for now, we're here to talk about a Harry Potter sequel, which a lot of people told me is their favorite. And a lot of people said that they thought I might like this one more than the other one. But a couple of people said, I think you'll like everything except for one part. And that was true. And I think we should just address it right off the top, is that the Umbridge depiction is not great or ideal. And especially given the timing, it feels especially rough. But I know that Nick has apologized for that depiction on Twitter. Nick, one of the writers and the director, and you told me before we were recording that you were going to address it a little bit. So I feel like they know this has not aged well and is not a great look. So I don't know if you have any additional insight. But aside from that, I really enjoyed it. But I felt gross watching it.
Yeah, it's a very, very big part of this musical. So it's something that you can't really ignore. Joe told me that it was not meant to be a trans joke, and they were really just making fun of Joe Walker being fitness crazy and getting super ripped. And he's playing like a buff woman, and then Umbridge falls in love with Dumbledore, but doesn't realize that Dumbledore isn't into women. And then Dumbledore thinks that Umbridge is a man. So the joke is supposed to be this like total misunderstanding. But now looking back, they understand how it could definitely be seen the wrong way, taken the wrong way, and just be super problematic. It was just not their intention at all for Umbridge to be this sort of like negative portrayal of a trans woman. And Nick even made a statement on Twitter recently, like you talked about, and he was just like, you know, the truth is, if I could do it again, I wouldn't portray Umbridge at all in the way I did. He's like, I see now how hurtful and thoughtless it was, and he's just like really sorry for it. And he said, I've made mistakes. There's no excuse for them. I learned to listen, learn, and do better. And for me, even though I love Joe Walker so much, like Umbridge was just always a little too much for me.
Yeah.
It never really sat well with me, but some people like love his version of Umbridge. And I've seen just like incredible fan art and cosplays, but like you said, I think it's important to recognize that it's uncomfortable for a lot of people when they're watching this, and it's good to talk about.
Yeah, I reached out. I made a post in the Potterless Facebook group just asking, hey, any trans and non-binary folks out there, how do you feel about this? Because I don't want to be, look at me, cis straight white man, getting offended on your behalf. But yeah, I think most people, from what I'm reading on the comments here, have agreed with what you're saying in that, yes, you realize that it was 2009, 2010, so it's a bit of a product of its time. And people can tell that they weren't necessarily trying to go, oh, let's dunk on trans people.
Right.
If anything, it's a joke about drag queens and stuff like that, but it didn't really land. I don't think anyone is, most of these comments say that they don't like it, but they're not super upset by it. Mainly the fact that Nick has apologized and that you can tell that they weren't trying to have bad intentions. But all of that being said, people still do not seem to be big fans of this portrayal, and it really is one of the elements that has aged the worst from the whole play.
Definitely. I agree. And it's just unfortunate because it's such a huge part of the plot of the sequel, and it's like you can't ignore it because it's right there. So I'm glad that we talked about it, and I think that it's important to keep talking about things that make you uncomfortable, that you don't think are, the right portrayal of things. So I think this is good.
Yeah, and I think it can happen for things that we love, and on Potterless, I've never shied away from pointing out things in the Harry Potter books that aren't good.
Yeah.
How the books are fat phobic at times. There's a lot of things that even in the canon stuff, we look back and are big yikes moments. So I think it's okay to still be able to love and appreciate something, whether it's the books, the Harry Potter trilogy, whatever it is. But I think it is still important to talk about those things that we don't like. And I tried to get on that in the Harry Potter musical episodes. And that's what I'm trying to get on here, is that you can still like the thing.
Yes.
But it is still important to recognize the parts that are at fault and learn from them, because we all have to learn. And these kids wrote it when they were in college. So that was a big learning time. We all did stuff back then that we are not proud of. And I am very happy to know that StarKid has moved beyond this. They've become more accepting. Nick has apologized for it and owned up to it, unlike a certain person that needs to own up and apologize and seems like she never will. But instead of talking about her, let's talk about a Harry Potter sequel.
Yes, please. Let's talk about a Harry Potter sequel. Oh, man. Okay.
So it opens with, I think, my favorite portrayal of a character, at least a new character, is the way they did Lucius Malfoy is absolutely fantastic, because I've always been a fan of Lucius being one for the theatrics and being so dramatic. It's why I love Emily Cartoons' depiction of him in My Life as a Background Slytherin. All that kind of stuff is fantastic. So it opens with Lucius talking to Yaxley about Voldemort being dead, and right off the bat, the first thing I noticed is that the production quality jump from a Harry Potter musical to a Harry Potter sequel is really good. It's a huge, significant jump, and it made me, as a viewer in 2020, excited.
So a Harry Potter sequel was kind of like a StarKid summer camp, because most of them had already graduated at that point and moved away from Michigan. Okay. But they all came back to do the sequel together. So it was like a really, really emotional time for them.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, isn't that? I was like, that's the best. And yeah, the quality went up a lot, so we are thankful.
Yes.
And Lucius is played by Tyler Brunsman, and he just set the standard so high just right off the bat, because he is a professional musical theater performer and just such a good dancer and just prancing around the stage. And that was the joke of Draco always falling over, because he's trying to emulate his father's dancing. Oh, and it just he can't do it. And also Lucius just looks like David Bowie in Labyrinth. So I love.
It's really good. It's a very solid outfit, wig, costume, all of that. And I still watch this one with the captions on to make sure I heard all of the lines properly. Right. But one of my favorite things about the YouTube video is that they've put in some captions where they describe the stage direction things that are happening. And it's very funny. One of the earliest ones is Lucius prances over, which I just think is fantastic to show up in closed captioning in brackets.
Yes. He's prancing all around.
He prances all around. I also appreciate that in one of these lines and throughout the rest of the play, they never call Aurors Aurors. They always call them the wizard cops, which I always think is very fun.
Yeah, they said, damn those wizard cops. So a Harry Potter sequel said all cops are bastards. And it's beautiful and it's ridiculous to me that Harry Potter becomes a cop. I always hated it.
I never enjoyed it.
Right? he has to be a Hogwarts professor. It's like meant to be. He loved teaching. I always hated that.
I always didn't like him being a R, and I never enjoyed in Cursed Child that Hermione, who famously said that she didn't want to work in government, becomes the Minister for Magic.
Nah, no way, man. Hate it.
So right away it goes into an upbeat song, and I looked at the clock. It's like a minute and a half into the play. I'm not a musical expert, but that felt very short. Like, we're singing right off the bat.
Yeah, well, I think they got some like slack in the last one where it's like there's not enough songs, so they just like jumped right into it. It's like, here's a song, here you go.
You want some songs? Here you go.
Exactly. And Darren wrote all the music for this one.
Wow.
So these are all Darren Criss songs.
Good for him. He is a talented boy.
He is.
So the song, though it did come in pretty quick, there was background music going on the whole time from the jump, so it at least fit. And then all of the Death Eaters join in. And the first thing that I realized is that the cast feels huge.
Yes.
Did it get larger, or did they just decide everyone is going to be random Death Eater before we start the play?
A lot of people were playing Death Eaters that aren't like Death Eaters later, that are different parts.
Got
like
it.
Joe was a Death Eater, like everyone was kind of coming in and saying evil plans. So it was great. And that's actually one of the things from the sequel that's like really memorable. I remember quoting it to all my other like Potter friends. Like we would always be like, we are making evil plans. So it just stuck in my head for some freaking reason. And it's great.
It's really good.
It is.
Now, something that made me at first upset, but then I remembered that this came out in 2010, is that they very early on establish that the crux of the plot revolves around a time turner. And having just covered Cursed Child for way too many episodes on this podcast, I was furious. But then I realized, wait, this came out 6 years earlier.
Right?
And we've already talked to, spoiler alert, if you've not seen Cursed Child, skip ahead. But I already talked about in the first one how they allude at the Bellatrix-Voldemort relationship, and now there's this time turner thing, and then there's later stuff going on with like, oh, not your real dad stuff. What did StarKid sue J.K. Rowling? Because there's a lot of coincidences.
It is like so exact. It's so funny. I remember when Cursed Child like first happened and everyone was just like, this is StarKid. This is a Harry Potter sequel. This is like
It's
the
wild.
same thing.
It's even Lucius who has the time turner. It's everything.
I know.
Theodore Knott walks through. What's up, guys?
They say that like there's literally no way to move forward from this point. And that's kind of like what they just, from looking at everything, they're like, you know what? We just have to go back. And that's kind of what Cursed Child did as well.
I can't imagine being a StarKid fan when Cursed Child came out, because that just had to have been the funniest thing.
Yes, it's still hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. I can't get over it.
So the song continues, and I have fully 180'd on the song at this point because it gets great. And I just think all of the musical elements in this one combine to be better. I think that the writing is better as a whole. I think the background music is better as a whole. Obviously, the higher quality of the recording and the production itself helps. But I just found myself enjoying all of the songs in this one so much more.
Yeah, I think it was helpful that like because they did the first one, because it they knew that people were watching it now, you know?
Right. That's a huge factor.
Yeah.
I don't know if I stated enough in the Harry Potter musical ones, is now at this point they go, people are watching this.
Right, because the first one they were just putting online to just show their friends and family. They had no idea that it was going to blow up like it did or that people would even care. So now they're like, oh, people actually care. So we have to put in, a little more effort into this because people are going to watch it.
I heard, and there were a couple of people posting about this in the Potterless Facebook group, people said that originally when they uploaded it, it was just called Harry Potter the Musical.
Yes.
And then they got into legal trouble from Warner Brothers, and they had to take it down, and then they re-uploaded it. And apparently when they re-uploaded it, they took out some of the more distasteful jokes as well?
Yes.
Okay.
That is correct.
Shame that a few more didn't make the cut, but
I mean,
2009.
honestly, it's one of those things where they just had to keep cutting things because it was too long. It was like, this is long in itself.
They're both really long, and if they're edited down, they're still very long.
Exactly. That's what I mean. It was even longer before. So I'm actually glad that they cut some stuff because it's just so long to begin with. And just wait until senior year, man. Oh, man. That is so long.
I figured that one would be shorter because because it was at a LeakyCon.
No, it's longer. It's so much longer. I remember sitting there in the audience and watching it, and we were all just like, we need to go to the bathroom. They need to take a break.
Was there no intermission?
They finally had one because we all were like, we need to go to the bathroom.
Please let us pee.
I swear, it's like 5 hours, man. It's long.
Woof.
It's
okay.
long. Yeah.
Thank you for telling me that, because I've made the mistake both times while prepping for these episodes. Today it worked, but it came close to the wire where I was like, oh, I'll wake up in the morning and watch a Harry Potter musical, and then not realize like, oh, I woke up at 9 my time and we're recording at 2. I was like, oh, I have 5 hours to watch and take notes on a 3-hour musical, and I keep pausing to take notes. Fuck.
Yep. Leave a whole day for a Harry Potter senior year, and make sure that you do it in multiple episodes, because there's a lot in that as well.
Oh yes, we'll be taking a ton, and I'm sure the listeners will be very happy that I do more episodes about a Harry Potter musical.
Yes.
So no problem there. So Harry enters asking about platform 9 3/4, and again, right off the bat, one of my favorite lines in the whole play is by the guy working at the train station. Goes, platform 9 3/4? There ain't no such thing. You're the 700th kid to ask me that today. It's so good.
It is. And Harry is just wearing like the dorkiest hand-me-down clothes.
It's really good.
Like Darren is just such a little baby there. It's the best. It's great.
So then the Weasleys all enter, very obnoxiously portraying all of the different Weasleys. I do especially love the Percy rendition with the ridiculous wig and the over-the-top nerdy speak. Big fan, big fan.
Yes. And Arthur Weasley's voice, Nick Lang, it's just the Mad Hatter.
I literally had that in my note. I said Arthur is just talking like the Mad Hatter.
Yep. 100%. It's brilliant.
Mm-hmm. So, of course, Ron comes in being anti-Ginny, as his character is established to be, which me as a big Ginny fan always makes me sad, but she's not in the rest of the play, so it's fine. But then there's a line that I'm a little confused about when you think about the age, is that after she leaves and it's just Ron and Harry, he goes, God, I hate her. She's such a... And then Harry goes, Butterface. She's 10? What is happening?
Yeah. They're just making jokes. I don't know. It's absurd. It's ridiculous.
Again, it's like college-y stuff, but the more that I think about some of the more sexual jokes, when you remember the kids are 11-ish, not great, but you know.
Yeah, for sure. It's like one of those things where they're balancing out like, oh yeah, they're kids, and then, oh yeah, this is like college, and this is still us like goofing around. But you have to remember that.
It's like when people write fan fiction and it's just like, everyone 100%. Assume they're 18 and over.
Yeah. Yep.
It's an alternate reality where Hogwarts is a college now.
Totally. You have to think that sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I had to do that. I did live shows where I did Wizarding World, The Bachelor, and The Bachelorette. And the first thing I said was, everyone's 18.
Yes. Yep.
Everyone's consenting at 18. Let's have fun now.
Mm-hmm.
Then they establish a new bit, because in the first one, there was lots of snacks. But in the sequel, all snacks are red vines now. And I do appreciate that Ron always looks the camera dead in the eye and shows red vines. Did Red Vines sponsor this?
Okay.
Because it felt to a point where like Red Vines might have paid them.
So this is hilarious. And this is just such a ridiculously iconic thing from this musical. So StarKid wasn't given any money for this. What happened was a fan was the daughter of an executive at Red Vines that just sent them boxes.
Oh, the daughter of Stephen Red Vines.
I don't know who it was. But they sent them boxes and boxes of candy. And the joke was that StarKid just sold out so shamelessly for just a piece of candy that they just like played the joke so hard of it being kind of like a commercial. And I think they even did like a commercial for Red Vines or something like on their YouTube channel. And now it's one of those things that I cannot look at Red Vines without thinking of StarKid.
I don't blame you.
It's absurd.
Now, here's a part that makes me confused, though, is I don't think Red Vines taste good at all.
Oh, no.
I think they are vastly inferior to Twizzlers, but for some reason, they seem to have more of a cultural presence than Twizzlers. Parks and Rec I've been binging through, and they like Red Vines there. The StarKid Red Vine stuff. The improv theater I did improv with in Seattle had Red Vines.
Oh.
I think they taste like those wax lips, you know, but like with slightly more flavor. I will say that the advantage of Red Vines is that since they are more hollow, they are better to use as a straw for stuff. Mm-hmm. But I think that's the only thing they really have going for them. Besides having a superior name, it is a better name.
They are disgusting.
Okay. It's so confusing. This is like the VHS Betamax. How did Red Vines make more of a cultural impact, because they're even in Lazy Sunday, the Andy Samberg SNL thing, Mr. Pippin Red Vines equals Crazy Delicious. It's how is something that is so much worse taste-wise so much better in references in pop culture? It's baffling. I don't know.
Maybe it's like the marketing. Maybe just this executive just sent boxes and boxes
Steven
of candy.
Redvines has just sent boxes of Red Vines to everyone that makes digital videos in the late 2000s. It's like, we got to send them to Andy Samberg and SNL. We got to send them to StarKid.
Who knows?
Today's episode is brought to you by Pull and Peel Twizzlers.
And people really sort of take a side. It's like, oh, do you like Twizzlers or Red Vines?
Yeah, it can become a heated debate. I think that the way to settle it is that Pull and Peel Twizzlers are vastly superior to anything.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But, favorite way to say red wines in a German accent.
Oh, God, that was very funny.
It's just great. I just love how they just keep bringing it up over and over. And that's such a StarKid thing, is that they just, ram the joke into the ground, to the point where it's not funny anymore. And they do that just anyway, just hanging out. That's what they do all the time. It's infuriating, but so funny.
I agree with infuriating. So funny, the jury's out on. I think sometimes it works, but I'm not a fan of callback for the sake of callback. But
Fair.
I think the Red Vine one is funny, and there's one later on in here I think is funny. I think the callbacks worked better in this sequel than they did in the first one.
Yes, I agree.
So Harry has a headband on, and Ron asks about the headband, and he says it was to cover his scar. And he says that the Dursleys told him that he got into a car crash with an alligator, and the alligator ate his parents and then stabbed him. So I love that they've turned the line to this completely ridiculous situation.
Right. Well, because it's ridiculous to begin with, in the books. The car crash is the whole, sort of thing that the Dursleys tell him. It's like, oh, that's what you could think of getting this, specific cut on your forehead. So they just, took it and just...
ran with it.
Made it ridiculous.
So when Harry removes the headband, everybody realizes that he's Harry Potter and becomes obsessed. We get introduced to some new characters. Seamus Finnegan, who is not Irish, but incredibly Cockney, which I think is still fun and works. But then there's a depiction that I was less fond of, which is Dean being the most stereotypical black ever, with a sideways hat and a rolled up pant leg, and the way that they talk. I was not the biggest fan of the Dean portrayal.
I mean, again, they did it on purpose because they were showing how there's just no black people at Hogwarts. How it's how J.K. Rowling depicted, had the token black person as Dean Thomas, and they're like, okay, we're gonna make it. If this is what you're doing, then we are going to just show how ridiculous that is.
Yeah, I think it's similar to the Cho Chang joke that they made in the first one, where I can see what they were going for if you look at it that way. I do think it would have been benefited if they made it a little more clear that that's what they were going for, because on its surface you could just say, oh, that's a bad portrayal of a black character. But if there were more jokes in the Cho Chang thing, where they more brought to light that Cho Chang is just an amalgam of different Asian cultures, her name is just a combination of two different Asian last names.
Right.
They could have done the same thing with Dean here. So I think, and of course, hindsight 2020, we're more aware to this stuff now. If they made it a bit more clear that that's what they were going for, it could have landed a little better. Because I think it's easy for some people to at first just think, oh, he's the black one, so he says I and wears a sideways hat.
Right. Totally. That's fair.
So then they launch into a Harry freaking Potter song, which I appreciate as someone that called him Harry freaking Potter a lot.
Really?
Yeah, it's purely by coincidence. A lot of the things that I've said throughout the podcast in my notes, I always call Harry HP. I always call Voldemort Voldy. I always call Dumbledore Dumby. I've said Harry freaking Potter a lot. And now I think I'm starting to realize why so many people told me that I was going to love a Harry Potter musical, because just these little things are things that I accidentally did that they do. And we share some kinship, and I appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, destiny.
But I really enjoyed the song, and I also really enjoyed that there's choreography now in a lot of the songs, and it's pretty good.
James Tolbert did the choreography, and they just, they stepped it up. And
they really did.
And they're not musical theater people. Most of them are just theater people. So it's they really dedicated themselves to this, and I appreciate it. The effort is there.
Definitely. And it comes through that it's not just them half-assing it. It's them
Right.
really trying and really putting together some solid effort. I appreciated it.
Yeah, and I love this song so much because it's sort of when Harry discovers that he's famous and like, you know, totally awesome. And he just immediately turns into a douchebag after this song.
Yep.
He's just like immediately cool and it's so perfect.
It's like the coming of douchebag story, the coming of douchebag moment for Harry.
Yep. It's beautiful.
So then Rita Skeeter comes in. Very Rita Skeeter.
Rita Skeeter here.
Love the voice, the hair, the outfit. It's fantastic. And also, the actress that plays her has some pipes. Was this the same girl that did Ginny in the first one?
Yes.
Okay. Because Ginny was, I think, the best singer in the first one. And as Rita, also very good.
Oh, yeah. Jamie Lynn has an incredible voice. And she's also really, really good at like voices and accents. So this was just like perfect. And she just nailed this.
She really did. And then I just have a note in my notes that I wrote, okay, Darren Criss is really fucking good at singing. Holy shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He is. He's like a pro.
He was solid in the first, but in this second one, I think he really comes into his own. And whether it's the songwriting or he just got better, I don't know. I found his singing to be super impressive in this one.
Oh, yeah. He's just such a good performer. I was lucky enough to see him in Hedwig when he was on Broadway, and he just absolutely killed it. It was so good. When he like really focuses on something and just goes for it, he can nail it. And this is just one of those things that you see and you're just like, you know what? He is owning Harry Potter. He is owning the douchiness and the music. And this was, you know, like his baby because he wrote all the songs for this. So you can just tell.
Yeah. Did you say he was in a play called Hedwig?
Yeah.
Is it about the owl?
No. No, it's the musical about it's based on Hedwig and the Angry Inch. It's that movie that they made into a musical, and Neil Patrick Harris was in it, and some other people were in it, and then he sort of like took over as the lead, and he was just like so good.
That's amazing.
Yeah, look it up.
I will.
Like watch the movie. The movie is great.
So the next scene has Harry and Ron entering the car of the Hogwarts Express with the sleeping Lupin, and Darren Criss, he can sing, he cannot pantomime. His miming for opening and closing the door, horrendous. I know I have high standards because I did a lot of improv and that is a very hard thing to do. And it's one you have to practice a lot, but Darren, oh boy, rough.
Well, especially compared to Joey, what he does.
Yeah, that's the next thing is that Ron has a great bit where it's not just opening and closing a door, it's security codes and a big circular gear to unlock and swiping and pushing it open and prying it open. It was hilarious. His work, very good. Darren Criss opened the door, walked through the door that he had just established, then closed it, and it goes through his legs. It was ridiculous.
Well, then Hermione just walked through the door too. So it's like a ridiculous thing of like, oh, so this is just like Ron being absurd.
It was really fun. I appreciated it. It made me feel a lot better inside of, oh no, bad pantomiming. And then, oh, really good stuff. Great.
Yes.
So then this is when Harry officially gives Ron the headband as a gift. And I still want to talk to the StarKid team because my theory is that the actor that played Ron couldn't keep the wig on, so they gave him a headband. That's my tinfoil hat theory.
I actually have no idea. I don't know why, like, he had the sweatband or what was the joke behind that. But honestly, I do think that the Harry Potter universe or whatever did the Harry and Ron relationship so much better than the movies did.
Yeah.
Because I always loved Harry and Ron's friendship. Like, Harry loves Ron and Ron, like, loves Harry. And we don't see that in the movies a lot.
Ron is too incompetent in the movies.
Yeah. It's so, I hate it. And so, like, when we see Harry and Ron just, like, being, like, buddy friends, I just love it.
And, of course, there are some moments where they call people bitches and ugly, and that's not great. But I think at its core, you have them actually acting like teenage boys with a normal teenage boy friendship, and that is something that did not translate to the movie very well.
Yeah, no. They just don't seem like friends sometimes in the movie. It's so weird.
Very strange.
Oh, past Mike, it is strange that they don't seem to be friends, and I wanted to clear the air here. I know that sometimes it seems like we're not friends, but I wanted to let you know that deep down I do value you as a friend, but I do want to tell you that you gotta stop for a second because we have to take a break for Wingardium Leviosa.
Today's episode of Potterless is brought to you by HelloFresh. Let's say hypothetically that you are anyone other than the cast of a Harry Potter sequel, and you need food because you're not getting supplied with a constant stream of red vines by Stephen Redvines. You need some food in your life that you can cook on your own. How are you going to do so? You're going to sign up for HelloFresh. HelloFresh offers so many recipes to choose from each week to help you break out of your recipe rut. HelloFresh also can reduce your stress because they offer contactless delivery to your doorstep for easy home cooking with the family. And HelloFresh is also sustainable. The packaging they use to ship your food is almost entirely made from recyclable and/or already recycled content. And much like I am with Potterless, HelloFresh is committed to giving back. They've donated over 2.5 million meals to charity in 2019, and this year they're stepping up their food donations amid the coronavirus crisis. I've made many meals with HelloFresh before, and I'm a big fan of it. One of the ones I made recently that I really enjoyed was a chicken katsu recipe, which I've ordered many times at restaurants, but I've never made myself. So HelloFresh taught me how to make a delicious dish, and now I can make it on my own. I'm a big boy. So if this sounds interesting to you, you're in luck, because as a Potterless listener, you can go to HelloFresh.com/60Potterless. So this is a new code, HelloFresh.com/60Potterless, and use the code 60Potterless to get $60 off your first 3 weeks. That includes free shipping on your first box as well. Additional restrictions apply. Please visit HelloFresh.com for more details, but go to HelloFresh.com/60Potterless and use code 60Potterless to get $60 off your first 3 weeks. So go check that out and start cooking your own food because you don't have an endless supply of red vines at your disposal today. Today's episode of Potterless is also brought to you by Stitch Fix. Let's say hypothetically that you are one of the cast members of a Harry Potter sequel and you need to have a lot of changes of clothes, but you want all of these changes of clothes to look super fresh. What are you going to do? You're going to get some fresh fixes from Stitch Fix. Stitch Fix is a personal styling company that is a completely different and fun way to find clothes that you'll love. To get started, just go to stitchfix.com/Potterless, set up your profile, let them know how you like your clothes to look, to fit, to feel, the style you're going for, and they will deliver great looks personalized just for you directly to your door. You can schedule deliveries at any time, you can make them recurring if you want them to, and shipping, returns, and exchanges are easy and free. Stitch Fix has clothes for men, women, and kids, and you can just let them do all the hard work of shopping for you, and you get to do the fun part, which is trying stuff on and keeping things you like. I have some clothes from Stitch Fix that I wear regularly. If you want to get some fresh clothes as well, you can go to stitchfix.com/Potterless, and as a Potterless listener, you'll get 25% off if you keep everything from your fix. That's stitchfix.com/Potterless for 25% off when you keep everything in your fix. So go to stitchfix.com/Potterless, get some fresh clothes, and look great in all of your roles across the Harry Potter trilogy today. So Ron has Scabbers, and it's just a little rat stuffed animal, which is great. They also eat Birdie Bots, and I love that the two flavors that they eat are broken computer and defeat.
Oh, yeah.
Really good.
It's disgusting.
So then Ron tries to get some red vines out of his bag, and this is the beginning of a recurring bit that I really enjoyed, which is Crookshanks just showing up inside of stuff. They pull out a Crookshanks, which is just a stuffed tiger.
Yes.
And then Hermione comes in to retrieve Crookshanks. Ron calls her a night troll, which I feel like the dunking on Hermione is just so much. I feel so bad for her.
Oh yeah, so do I. And this is like even worse, like on the dunking on Hermione than in the first one. Again, it's just because of the joke of how shitty Harry and Ron were towards Hermione, like at the beginning of the first book. Like they were, like especially Ron. Ron was not nice to Hermione. And until that sort of like troll moment where they all became friends, like everyone was mean to her. So they just kind of took that and just really, went to the
with
extreme.
it very far.
Yeah, I think they went too far personally. I
agree.
Like, I feel bad for Hermione a lot in this. I feel bad for a lot of characters. This musical actually is it's so much darker, and the humor is just like, it's sad. Like I'm sad when I watch
Yeah,
this.
it's a lot of jokes made at the expense of other people.
Right.
And sometimes it's funny, especially if you're making fun of fictional elements or things about the books. But other times when you look at the core of it, it makes me feel a little uncomfortable when it's things like calling Hermione ugly or Dumbledore being upset that Umbridge isn't actually a man. When you make these kind of jokes, it just makes me feel bad inside.
I know, me too. I'm not a huge fan of like dark and twisted humor. Some people are, and they like love that type of humor. And if you do, then this sequel has like a lot in it. But for me, I just sometimes, like you said, I feel like uncomfortable. I feel sad and like bad for the characters. And so it can just be a little much for me sometimes. And Hermione is one of those things where it's a little too much.
Yeah, again, I see what you are going for, but I don't know that the execution is there kind of joke.
Totally.
So the trolley witch comes by and then is abducted and is taken over by a Death Eater with a deep voice. but then Lupin fights it off. Then there's some Lupin homeless jokes, which, okay, yeah, wah. But then he also calls Hermione a night troll, and it's like, why is he getting in on the dunking? Can't we just have nice Lupin?
If you want nice Lupin, that is not what this
Not this play. I'm a big Lupin fan, and he is portrayed a little differently in this one.
Yeah, Brian Holden portrayed Lupin just so... Okay, so Brian Holden is one of those actors where he is just not afraid to just go there and make himself look ridiculous, which is the joke of Lupin a lot, where he's like, you know, oh, it's like, you think you look bad or something. And it's like, yeah, he does look bad. He looks really bad. But yeah, his portrayal is like Lupin is not a good person.
Yeah.
He's like a huge like asshole. He's a prick. He's just, but they did that to kind of like, counteract Joe's like Snape character, because like Snape and Lupin have a lot of back and forth in this, and Joe just like loved interacting with Brian. He said it was just so freaking fun for him, and just as like in the scenes, he always loved when he was in a scene with Brian, because he just thought it was so funny. And Brian is just like so funny. Like Lupin is just absurd in this. It's not, there's no it's almost like it's not even Harry Potter at this point.
It's just a different character, but he's also named Lupin.
Yeah, there's like hardly any of like the Lupin that you love Lupin. The reasons that you love Lupin is not in this at all. He's like, oh, that's piss. Was I drinking piss? You must be Harry Potter.
Yeah. Yeah, it also gets into a bit where Lupin's bit is that he curses a lot.
Yeah.
And I've never been one for, haha, he said a bad word, that's funny.
Right.
I think this is one of the StarKid taking a joke and just, you know, instead of running a 5K with it, running 12 marathons consecutively with it.
Always.
And it's like, okay, we get it, he curses.
And if you notice, like, the kids only put their hands over their ears only when Lupin curses, not when, like, anyone else curses. It's only when Lupin curses.
I did appreciate that, but it did feel like it was done quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot.
So Lupin tries to ease Harry's nerves about Hogwarts, and then he ends it with, no one at Hogwarts hates you, and then immediately enters Snape, which I think that this play does such a good job of it. They did a little bit of it in the first, but this one especially, of people entering on particular lines that either contradict or go 100% along with what the previous person just said. And that was one of the things I found the funniest in the books, is that everyone has such perfect dramatic timing. Everyone enters a room at the perfect line. Voldemort comes in with the can't-I Potter right at the right moment. So many things. Snape does it all the time. So I really appreciated that in this play they nailed that, because I think that's one of the most ridiculous things in the book. So I love that they made fun of that.
Oh, yeah. And I can tell you a little bit about how Joe sort of like created the character.
Oh, please, because I gotta say, and this is not just because you are the fiance of Snape and you're on this podcast right now, but one of my favorite portrayals in the whole thing, but especially in this second one, is Snape. Snape kills.
Yeah, this is like really like a reason why I wanted to come on for the sequel is because Joe is like featured a lot more in this one. And like Snape is one of like the main parts of this musical, and he just like is so freaking funny. So for Snape, they knew that they wanted him to have like a specific voice because of Alan Rickman. So they were thinking like something along the lines of like a vampire version of John Lennon. And then Joe had some professors at Michigan that had a really weird way of talking with their hands and were very theatrical. And then he mixed that with like Captain Jack Sparrow. So that's
I can see it.
So that's kind of where like the eyeliner and the wobbly walk came in, especially like in this one, it's more prevalent. And then his face is just like an encapsulation of like Snape always being so miserable and not trying to hide it like at all. But yeah, he's just like this creepy, weird vampire man. And whenever Joe like puts on that wig, he just transforms into this different person. It is completely disturbing, but it's so funny because Joe did some other stuff with the character of Snape. He did like the Potion Master's Corner on YouTube, if you look that up, where
I'll have to look into that.
Oh my gosh. So he is Snape and the character of Snape, and he is interviewing the different actors in StarKid as actors, but he is just totally like, it's very much like a In Between Two Ferns type thing.
Yeah.
So that's like a whole series that he did. And then he also did a live show called the Joe Moses Shows Us, or Joe Moses One Man Shows Us. And when he did that, he did a lot of Snape stuff there, and he would always do like live interviews, and he's interviewed me before as Snape, and it is always just so uncomfortable for me. Because he's just like such an asshole, such like this like weird character, and I have no idea what he's gonna do like as Snape. Like I just have no clue, but it is so funny. And I
hope he doesn't just do it around the house.
No, God, I couldn't take it. I can't. But I have like put on the wig before. It is fun. I have dressed up as Snape. It is fun.
That's very good.
Yes. But it's brilliant.
Oh, it's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, one of the notes that I did have is that Snape's eyeliner is much more prominent in this production.
Yes. Again, with the Captain Jack, he just took it to the next level.
Yeah, so Lupin goes on to call him Sour Grapes Snape and Butt Trumpet, which becomes a recurring insult thrown towards Snape throughout the play. I do like that they are playing on the fact that Snivelous is supposed to be this thing that makes a grown man so upset. Because I always found that to be ridiculous. So the fact that they go the next level and call him Sour Grape Snape, which does not roll off the tongue at all, and then the butt trumpet thing, making fun of that I think is really funny.
Yeah, it's great.
And then they have such a childlike fight with the name calling and the whole, I'm going to expel you. No, you can't expel me. I've expelled you. It's just, I've always thought that the Marauders not liking each other still as adults is so childlike.
Right.
So for the play to make fun of that, I think it's great. And even when everybody, and this is probably a hot take, when everyone's like, oh man, I hope that JK, I mean, I don't want JK to write another fucking book anymore. But when people are like, oh man, JK should write a spin-off series, I want a Marauders prequel. I don't find them very interesting. They're a bunch of immature assholes that never grew up. And Lupin is great, but the rest of them suck. And I don't care. If I wanted anything, it'd be the Teddy Lupin spin-off, which would be way better. But I don't know. I really enjoyed that a Harry Potter sequel just completely trashed the fact that these grown men act like children.
Yeah, they really do sort of take that, like, why should, like you said, these grown men care anymore? Mm-hmm. But I do love the Marauders, so I'm sorry. I don't agree with you.
No, it's okay. I just
love Sirius and Lupin. I'm a Wolfstar girl. I can't.
See, I can see that. I really like Lupin a lot. I like Sirius, and I feel bad for him since his formative years were spent in prison. But I think that there are more interesting stories to tell than...
There's so many stories. I mean, the wizarding world is endless. Like, you know, there's so many things.
Yeah, and now we turn to only fan fiction for those stories.
I know. The thing that I like am waiting for is just like a Ravenclaw lead.
Yeah.
Like there's never been a Ravenclaw lead. It's so absurd. It's so ridiculous. And this Ravenclaw eraser, I can't. I hate it.
It's very silly. I am a Gryffindor, and I recognize my Gryffindor privilege, which is that the books are about us and all they do is talk about us, and all of the merchandise is for us and all of that. And because I am married to a Hufflepuff, I've now even seen more of the light of how poorly they're mistreated. But like, it's weirdly the way that I've seen it. I grew up in New Jersey.
Oh my gosh, I grew up in Pennsylvania.
Whoa, what part?
Pottstown near Philly.
Oh boy. Okay, that sounds very Pennsylvania, like tiny little town no one's heard of. I mean, that's also what New Jersey does. Like, I'm from Robbinsville. No one knows what that is. But at least coming from New Jersey, growing up, I would watch movies and TV shows. All of these things would make fun of New Jersey all of the time.
Right.
And when I moved to Texas, people would ask me, oh, you're from New Jersey. People always make fun of it. Does that bother you? And I didn't, because at least people are making fun of us. So at least people know who we are. So for Hufflepuff, at least people are making fun of them. At least people know who they are. Ravenclaw's like New Hampshire, where it's there, but people don't even know enough about it to make fun of it. Like, yeah, we've got Luna and I guess Cho Chang and Roger Davies. Like, why is there no one talks about Ravenclaw? It is so unfair.
I know. Thank God for fan fiction.
And at least Hufflepuff has puffs.
Thank God.
Yeah, the writers of Puffs need to make claws, I guess.
Oh my God.
And then we can just get a really, really nerdy
nerdy Ravenclaw perspective.
Oh, I would love it. Please, Puffs,
I'll
please.
hire me as a contractor. I'll help write it. And then cast me as Ludo Bagman.
I'll make it happen. I'll talk to people.
I'll just email Pat Brady. She gets everything done.
Yeah, she would. She totally would.
So there's a sentimental moment from Lupin and Harry, which then turns into a sentimental song from Harry Potter about finding his home at Hogwarts. And it gets really soulful. And I really appreciate anytime Darren Criss gets into a more rhythm and bluesy vibe. And I think he killed it.
Oh my gosh, this song is so freaking good. And I'm not gonna lie, it like makes me freaking tear up when I think of it in terms of like the Harry Potter fandom, because it fits just like so well. And honestly, like Home and Not Alone are just such good Darren songs.
Yes.
And it just it's perfect. He, like you said, he's so good at that like sort of bluesy, like emotional, like taking your feelings and just making you cry.
So there's a scene transition, but then the song still keeps going, which I didn't know is a thing. But then he gets sorted into Gryffindor. And then another joke I was not the biggest fan of, and I think this is very 2009, 2010 of them, is the scarf of sexual preference.
Oh, yes.
Which then sorts Harry as metrosexual, which is the most 2010 joke that you could possibly make. I remember that being a thing. I remember people calling me that because I cared about how I dressed, and everyone's like, oh, you must be metrosexual. And I was like, what's that? And then people would be like, oh, I don't know, you like care about how you look, and your button-down shirt is pink. It's like, okay.
Right.
Why did you say that with a negative tone? I'm very, like, I was bullied, and that was the one that I just never got.
Mm-hmm. There's been so many good Scarfie creations, though. Oh my gosh, whenever I go to LeakyCon, there's at least like 3 different people that have made like a scarf of sexual preference, and it's a puppet and it works, and it's like the creations behind it have been incredible.
I feel like it could work. I think what rubbed me the most wrong about it is that it goes around Harry and says metrosexual, which I just fully associate with people being mean and just like a very toxic masculinity of, oh, you care about how you look, you must be gay, and that's bad because it's 2010.
I mean, they're kind of making the comment as well how it's like, it's ridiculous that this hat just like chooses a house. So it's like, oh, well, we can have a scarf that like chooses, you know, the sexual preference. And I'm sure J.K. Rowling would hate that. So.
Oh, God. Oh, boy.
Okay.
I mean, if J.K. wrote it, it would just be like straight.
Yeah.
Straight.
I know.
Straight.
Oh, my God.
Straight.
Yep.
Straight.
Yep. And then Dumbledore, gay.
But it would like whisper it a couple weeks later after the books are all done and you don't have to worry about it anymore. Oh, wait, you're gay.
Oh, man.
Just kidding. You like boys.
Yeah. Scarfie would come in and be like, psst.
Scarfie would come in years after you graduated Hogwarts. You're married with children, and then the scarf comes in and goes, oh, by the way, you were gay, but I had to wait until a press conference afterwards to reveal this.
Oh, man. God. Okay.
So then Ron is sorted as bi-curious, and Hermione is sorted as wait until marriage, which that's a better joke. I appreciated that one more. Mm-hmm. And finally, Draco comes into this play. Yes. I was waiting on bated breath, and Draco finally enters because I think Lauren Lopez's rendition of Draco is one for the record books. It's so funny.
Oh my God. Draco was always my favorite character. I'm sorry, Joe. He knows this. He knows. It was always
It's okay. My wife, Kelly, her favorite podcast is Stuff You Should Know. And, you know, it's just the world we live in.
Yep. I'm like, sorry, baby. I just can't. Like, Lauren Lopez as Draco is just so hilarious and brilliant, and it's like beyond, it makes the entire musical, like both of them, musicals. Yes. And it's one of those things where when Lauren puts on this costume, she just transforms into this completely different person. It's amazing. And I just love like the rolling around, the physicality of it, of the humor. It's brilliant. Chef's kiss.
It's really solid. And you're right about the transformation process, because I have tried to send emails to get Lauren Lopez on the show, and I've not heard back from her or her agents. We'll sort that out another day. But I will say that every time I look at videos or pictures or stuff of her, it's still so hard to put the two together, because in all of her headshots, she looks so nice and sweet. And then in Draco, it's just such a different person, and it's so unique, and it's just hard to look at that and then say that's the same person.
Yeah.
It's just such a strong performance and such a unique portrayal of a character. And it's just so funny that, I agree with you that it is just a complete transformation.
And she does that with almost every role that I've seen her in, especially like StarKid wise, because she's played so many different characters and she just turns into this different person. It's like you forget, and then she takes off the costume and you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it reminds me of Heath Ledger as the Joker because even as I watch Dark Knight, I can't see the dude from A Knight's Tale, and I can't see the dude from 10 Things I Hate About You. I guess the hair's kind of curly, but I just look at him, even in the one scene where he doesn't have the makeup on, it's just, that's a different person because they're so engrossed in the character.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But Draco comes in with some heat, straight up going, I am a racist. I despise gingers and mudbloods. Just right off the top, coming in at 100 miles an hour. I love it.
Do you want to be my friend?
Harry then rejects this friendship offer and pushes Draco over. And Draco gets up and goes, you are not permitted to touch. And then does a spin move. Fantastic.
Oh my gosh. So I'm a huge Drarry shipper.
Okay.
I love Draco and Harry together. I always have. It's just one of my favorite ships of all time. And so I love that moment when Harry and Draco like meet for the first time because it's just so absurd. So this is again them like meeting for the first time and having that ridiculous like antagonistic moment. And actually, so this is a weird little call out, but so I'm Harry Potter friends with Lin Manuel Miranda, and yes. And he told me that in Hamilton, when Hamilton meets Burr for the first time, he based that off of when Harry and Draco meet for the first time. And that just completely blew my mind and made my entire life. So it's the best thing.
Now, I normally didn't think I had any sort of chance to meet Lin Manuel Miranda, but you said you're Harry Potter friends with him.
Yes.
My job is Harry Potter. How does one become Harry Potter friends with Lin Manuel Miranda? Because I've got a good start going with a very popular podcast.
Honestly, what it was back in 2010. He was in The Heights when I was in Billy Elliot.
Oh, so you were also on Broadway. Damn it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And also, I put out this YouTube video that he found and he loved, and he messaged me and was like, this is the most brilliant thing I've ever seen. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with you. And then we just became friends from there.
Gosh,
and
amazing.
He is just one of the most incredible people. He is like my hero. I love him.
He seems like it. He seems like the nicest person. He is my dream is someone that blows up and doesn't change who they are, because I love following him on social media because he just acts like a normal person.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is when he was doing all of this press and stuff for being in Mary Poppins Returns, he was just posting selfies at Disney World. Because he's a guy at Disney World.
Guy, and he loves it, and he appreciates like all the fans, and it's just the best. What a genuine, like, incredible human. I love him.
We all should aspire to be like Lin Manuel
We
Miranda.
We really should. Ugh.
So Crabbe and Goyle go over to rough up Harry Potter for pushing over Draco. Draco says no one undermines Draco Malfoy, and then immediately Dumbledore enters and goes, "Oh, Malfoy, you little shit!" And it's great. Oh, I love the callback from the first play.
Freaking Dylan as Dumbledore is just
So fun.
so absurd. I love it.
So then there's a callback that I'm not as big of a fan of. I don't find the Draco diaper stuff particularly funny. Like, it's literal potty humor.
But wait.
Yeah, the drawing stuff.
No. But wait. So Draco learning to use the potty and saying like all respectable wizards wear diapers. Do you remember when J.K. Rowling said that thing about how wizards shit themselves?
Yeah. Did StarKid predict this too?
Yes. This is I'm telling you, they did it again. When that was like announced, This is immediately what I thought of when it happened. I was like, oh my God, all respectable wizards wear diapers.
Gosh. The power of StarKid is beyond their own. Like, they're too strong for their own good.
They're too powerful. So that's like something that I just had to bring up, because when that was announced, because it was so absurd, I was like, oh my God, StarKid. Oh my God. the potty joke, which is so dumb, is like actually relevant.
So then Dumbledore starts to describe Quidditch, and it's revealed that Snape is coaching the Slytherin team, Lupin is coaching the Gryffindor team, because McGonagall still isn't in this play. What is happening?
Yeah.
Why is there no McGonagall? Does she come up in the third one? I'm gonna rage so hard if she's not. She's perfect. Why is she not in these plays?
Well, because she's traveling through time.
McGonagall, just vague age.
She's a Time Lord.
Truly, truly.
I honestly can't remember if she's in the third one because the third one is so long.
Oh boy. Well, hopefully she gets in there. Otherwise, I will be very upset.
Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention, Neville Longbottom, which is played by Richard Campbell, is supposed to be Piglet.
Oh, I can see it. My wife Kelly watches The New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh to help go to sleep.
Oh.
And I've been getting some Piglet exposure through that.
Oh, that's so sweet and wholesome.
I know, it's great.
That's the best.
I watch like Taskmaster or basketball highlights to go to sleep, and she watches wholesome children's cartoons.
That is the best thing. I love that.
Snape then announces that the Hogwarts Astronomy Club will be focusing on the cycles of the moon and how they affect different professors, which, God, I laughed so hard. That's so funny.
It's brilliant.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. And then Lupin starts to become a werewolf. He's like, oh, it's not a full moon. It hasn't been a full moon for 30 days. Oh, and then he has to run away, which is fantastic. And Dumbledore goes on to reveal that Sirius Black has escaped. Then he says that he's going to be after a cutie little Gryffindor. And then there's more dunking on Hermione because Harry goes, oh, he wouldn't be talking about you. He's talking about me because he said cute, which is just, Hermione. I feel so bad for her.
I know. Especially like with the stuff coming up with the songs and stuff. It's like, poor Hermione.
So then we get the entrance that I didn't enjoy right away, and it's Umbridge showing up. And right off the bat, the jokes they felt like they were in poor taste. Especially, we're recording this on June 15th, 2020. So this is right at the point where JK's like, trans people can eat my shorts.
Right.
So I didn't feel great. I do love the actor. I thought he was great as Voldemort. And his physique is one to be admired and respected for sure. But I didn't really land. I mean, there are some funny jokes. One of the jokes is funny where it says, I heard once a Dementor tried to kiss her and it died. That kind of stuff is funny. And even Umbridge trying to be like a cool, fun party mom, I think is okay. But when they get into some of the body image stuff, like her catchphrase is calling people chubby little fucks, which didn't really feel great. Then there's a whole thing about it being a man's world. Then she's mean to Cho and calls Cho a skank. There was just a lot of little things piling up in this first introduction to Umbridge that didn't sit right with me.
Right. Because like Umbridge is a horrible character, but it's like she can be horrible without adding all of these like jokes that are really uncomfortable.
Right. And I think if the core of the joke is ha ha ha, big muscly dude is playing Umbridge, you don't have to say it.
Right.
Because that's funny in itself. If it was just big muscly dude playing Umbridge exactly like she is in the book and the movie, that's still hilarious.
Right.
I even think it would be even funnier if you have giant muscle guy trying to be dainty little old lady, especially because in the movie she's this tiny little old woman with a high-pitched voice. And I think it would have been funny. I don't think you have to go the next step to be like, hey guys, this is funny because I'm a boy, you know?
Yeah. Yep. No, I totally agree. Watching it back, it really is the thing that makes me like just the most uncomfortable out of the whole thing.
So we've addressed this enough. Let's move on.
Yes.
Ron and Harry are mean to Hermione again. We're back at it before the Quidditch tryout scene.
Yep.
And then Lupin and Harry have a bit of a sentimental moment about James. And this starts a recurring bit that I actually do enjoy, which is the Lupin fighting to be recognized as James's best friend, which I think is very funny.
Yeah, like who is James's best friend? They all think they were his best friend.
Yeah, I love it. It's really solid.
Yeah.
And Harry won't drop that he continues to think that it's Sirius the traitor. And the initial line of it is great because Harry goes, I thought it was Sirius. And and Lupin waits a beat and just goes, nope, nope.
He just hates it.
Yeah, it totally does. And at this point, I realized that this portrayal of Lupin, whether it's the actor or not, I feel like it had big Andrew Scott vibes.
Yes.
And I think he kind of looks a little bit like him too.
Oh my gosh,
which is
I can see that.
Probably why I was so attracted to him.
I love it. Amazing.
So Snape enters. He says that they want the field to train Malfoy as the new Seeker. Malfoy slides in under Goyle's legs, which is fantastic. I love it a lot. And then Lupin goes to get the field reservation permission slip. And of course, Crookshanks is inside the bag, which is great. Really support this bit. And then Snape and Lupin go leave to see Dumbledore to figure out who's supposed to have the field. Harry busts out his guitar, of course. And Malfoy, after saying Potter 5 times, brings over a drawing of Harry getting hit with a quaffle, much like the little drawing from the movies. And again, the art department is killing it. This drawing is so good.
The drawing bit is so funny to me, especially when he takes it and he goes, "I've stolen your favorite drawing." It's just so brilliant because it's just like this little boy, this little kid who's like drawing these things, and is so, because little kids, when they draw things, it like means so much to them. So it's like, this means so much to Draco, and it's just the best.
It's really good. And what makes Draco like it is that he notices that the shading on the sweater is particularly good, so he wants it back. And I will say the shading on the sweater was very good. I don't know who did the art for the drawings in the first play and in this one, but everything that is drawn is really well done.
I mean, Nick Lang draws a lot of the stuff, so I'm guessing that he did it. Okay. Anything that's like big art department stuff, he did, because his art, it's so good. Like, this man is so talented.
All the props are awesome. Mm-hmm. So yes, Draco takes it back and then unintentionally rips it and then says, "Well, now look what you've done, Potter. Wait till my father hears about this." So then there's some more diaper stuff.
Yep.
Draco calls Hermione a mudblood. Ron stands up and goes, "Hey," and then says, "Yeah, Herman, draw something," which I think that was funnier because I was surprised. I was like, wait, Ron's going to stand up for her? And then he doesn't. Classic misdirect. You'll love to see it. But then it gets into a whole song about how Hermione can't draw. And again, I just feel bad for Hermione.
Oh man, you do not know how many times this song was sung in the Billy Elliot dressing room. I got all of the kids to sing this song and they would not stop singing it. For some reason, this was the song that they loved to do, and they were just like,
of all the songs,
the most annoying one was the one that these children latched onto, because I didn't show them the whole musical. I was just singing this song because it was in my head, and then they all started singing it. So I like this song specifically, just like has such Billy Elliot memories for me, and it is the most annoying song, and it will never get out of your head.
So then we have Lupin coming back, and it turns into Lupin can't sing. He fights back against singing. And then for a brief moment goes, "I'm Remus freaking," and then says, "All right, stop." And he deflects and brings it back to Hermione can't draw, which I thought that was really funny, especially the little moment where he's like about to start a song and it's just the Harry freaking Potter song. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, Lupin is just he's so uncomfortable.
Yeah,
just this entire musical. Like you just feel it's so cringy. Like Lupin is just so cringy. It's very much that like, not Seinfeld, but Curb like humor where it's like, it's so cringy, but it's so funny and you can't look away. That's exactly like what Lupin is to me in this. It's just like, ugh.
For sure. It's really solid. So everybody leaves. Hermione tosses Crookshanks aside, and when it lands, there's a glass shattering sound effect, which I found it very funny because I did not see it coming. And then she has a song about not fitting in, so I appreciated that she was at least standing up for herself. I do still feel bad for her, but any moment where she kind of decides to push back against all the hate that is thrown her way, I think is good and makes me feel a little bit better. And I think this is a great point to end this first episode discussing the first act of a Very Potter sequel, because I want to end on a positive note.
Well, I have a lot to say about this song.
Oh, good.
So
yes.
I don't know.
Please go
if
on.
You want me to...
Yes, please do. And we'll round out the episode with that.
Okay, perfect. So this song is my favorite song in this musical.
Okay.
And it's like Hermione's big song. And Joe told me that Darren wrote this song to be a musical theater audition song specifically. And after hearing this song for the first time, I literally used it for my musical theater auditions.
Oh, cool.
Without knowing, because it really is the perfect audition song. And I just thought it was just like so funny because that's exactly like what he meant it to be, and that's exactly what I used it for. But I love this song so much that I actually did a parody of it in 2012 at one of the Joe Moses shows, and then I put it on YouTube, where instead of being like the coolest girl, it was about being the biggest fangirl. And so I like did this whole parody, like the biggest fangirl in dreams and slumber, the biggest fangirl on all of Tumblr, the biggest fangirl you've ever seen online. It was like this whole thing. And so I like really connected with the song, and it just every time I hear it, it makes me so freaking happy. It's the best. It's such a good song.
It's really, really solid. So Tessa, thank you so much for joining on to discuss this first part of the first act. We talked about so much stuff that it's going to be more episodes now, which is great. What a good problem to have. Multiple things talking about each part. So if people want to find you doing stuff on the internet, where can they do so?
Oh, well, you can find me online on YouTube at youtube.com/TessaNetting. I make Harry Potter videos on there. I also post a lot of Potter stuff on Instagram at TessaNetting. And I have a nerdy podcast with my best friend, Brizzy Voices, called Fantastic Geeks, where we do a lot of sorting and trailer breakdowns and such. And I also play Hazel on the Disney Channel TV show Bunked, so you might know me from there as well.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining on. Listeners, thank you so much for listening. And as they say in the wizarding world of Harry Potter, before they eat a full bag of red vines, wizard on!
Yay!
If you're thinking of making a podcast on your own, or you're already making one and you need some help, Multitude has a whole bunch of resources that we've put together over at multitude.production/resources. One of the newest ones is a PDF by the Next Stop team about how to make a fiction podcast. You can access all of those for free at multitude.production/resources. Potterless is created by McShubert, it is hosted by McShubert, it is edited by McShubert, it is produced by McShubert, as well as Vicky Garcia, Aaron Johnson, Klauser, Lopu, Marchismo, Samantha Rose, Swanson, Filio, Rosemary, Daj, Marie, Lisa C. Keen, Romina Rivadenaire, Audra Eleanor Curlin, Nikita Power, Ali Madsen, Amelia Krause, Sarah Nink, Ben Silver, Rachel Guthrie, Zachary Pulido, Orca Grower, Vivian the Owl, Haley Hastings Moser, Alex Consulver, John Kotker, Noel Basile, Liz Bigelow, Brandon Pickens, Claire Spencer, Rory Collier, Veronica Bartova, Lotta Bartova, Noah, Tracy Toya, Colleen, Jennifer, Mark Lufride, Jay Svensson, Summer Rathel, Justin Montero, Jacob Parrish, Maya Gray, Mark Body, Polly Burridge, Zena Rosnowski, Harlan Haskins, Noelia, Addie, Nikki Harris, Kine, Amanda Alfred, Alicia McLaren, Kafir Shaltiel, Sarah Shetter, Marta Morrison, Eileen Gazesh, Keegan Curran, Mr. Folk, Maya, Floor Sake, Siri Scaros for Georgia Davis, Skylar Lilly, Edel Ryan, Professor Threat, Ellie Hoskov Chova, Elizabeth Christofferson, Michael David Yordi, Kelly Otilio, Kerry Crumpler, Connie Bienkowski, Jen Went, Nedry OS, Will Huser, Samantha Lentz, Aurora Fruhoff, Marco Cepeda, Courtney Marie Grieger, Ashton Gabrielson, Brittany Gutierrez, Fail on the Meadows Family, Ginny from the Block, McKenna Tweedy, Heather Langeal, Brad Harding, Brianna Cusumano, Kevin Stewart, Lori McDonald, Chrissy Tew, Jarls Fiven, Ashley Enstrom, Peter McGrath, Sophie Duda, Jen and Rose Dowd, Callahan and Darius, Leah Reed, Melissa Robb, Bella Barlack, Melanie Demi, Elizabeth Yu, Britt McLean, Becca Spry, Reese Dignan, Adam Graham, Joseph Torp, Lily's Mom, T-Run Money, Madison Kyle, Don't Call Me Ninfedora, GK Have It Your Way, Sabrina Balsiker, Sophia Loves Pigs, Farzan Jarabat, Melanie DeGrave, David Douglas, Matt Barger, Okamahime, Yimki Bony Pony, Jacob Rossitano, Kelsey Gillespie, Taka Blowfish, Rike Mango Jensen, Taylor Payne, Rachel Mobbs, Megan Moon, Alicia Chapman, Riley Kiddis, Colleen Waters, Laurel Happy, Rossanne Batamana, Erica Butler, Miranda Hurley, Landon Schwausch, Kendra Hertz, Natanya Page, Yogan Shanley, Darcy Alexandra Harrison, Richard Johnson, Sandra Rose, Kremnik Roberts, Andren Kaufman, K.A. Robb, Steve Trelaw, Leor Nachum, Angela Hill, Julia Buzak, Demi Lynn, Kelsey Wellis, Michael Beck, Callista Delano, She Who Doesn't Have to Be Named, Elle Kringle, Lovekesh Longer, Jennifer Terzian, Crystal Pollard, Henrique Wolf, Jeremy Elmore, Delkis, Katrina Smith, Jerica Law, Michelle Spurgeon, Casey Canales, Megan Stempin, Let's Hit 1,000 Patrons, Serenity, Alan Jax, G, Sophia Lyons, Sat, Matthew Babbitt, Dane Nemcher, Rochelle Unatmaz, Kirsty, Robin Garcia, Chick Parr, Mermaid and her Daddykins, Aaron Uggs, Not My Daughter You Biatch, Ilaria Vicentin, Liam Simmons, Lori, Steamed Nuggets, and Carrot Eye Potter. Web design by Kelly Schubert, and the music is by Bettina Campamanes. If you want to find us on social media, you can at facebook.com/Potterless, twitter.com/PotterlessPod, instagram.com/PotterlessPodcast, and reddit.com/r/Potterless. For any and all information about the show, you can go to PotterlessPodcast.com for bonus content. You can go to patreon.com/Potterless, and merch lives at PotterlessPodcast.com/merch. If you want to tell someone about the show, whether you reach out to them directly or leave a rating and review online, those both really help. Thanks so much for listening, and until next time, as they say in the wizarding world of Harry Potter, wizard on!